Hello everyone, and welcome to a week of Algos brought to you by Developer Student Clubs, Manipal University, Jaipur. A week of Algo intends to help you kickstart your coding journey by making you familiar with data structures such as arrays, stacks, and queues taught to you from their real life applications. We'll have casual talks with our speakers, which will help you figure out how to land up at a top product based company such as Fang. And later, we will give you tips on how to boost up your LinkedIn profile. We'll be having fun quizzes, post talks, and much more. Today, we have with us Prerit Pathak. Prerit recently graduated from our very own Manipal University, Jaipur, and is now working as a software engineer at Dell Technologies. He is the founder of OWASP Jaipur chapter and is currently the chapter lead. OWASP is basically Open Web Application Security Project, a community for web application security enthusiasts. He is a technical content writer at Geeks for Geeks, wherein he wrote many articles on cybersecurity, Linux, and other interesting topics. Previously, he interned as an SE at Times Internet Limited. So please help me in welcoming Prerit Pathak.
Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be here. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. And first of all, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the entire DSC MUJ team for inviting me for this talk. And I really hope that this talk can help you in your journey in becoming a good software developer or joining the tech industry in general. So let me know. I'll just start sharing my presentation. Yeah, I hope I'm visible.
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
thank
yes.
you. Um, so just a brief thing that I wanted to mention that this talk is I've tried to put up this talk together in a way that it is more interactive and not just about me talking. And the main intention behind this talk is to help you build a logical mindset and just explain why it will help you in landing a good job, right? So first of all, here's a little introduction about myself, apart from the glorious introduction that was given to me. So I currently work as a software engineer at Dell, and when I'm not working, I am an ethical hacker, and I have worked with a variety of organizations worldwide in improving their security and have received international acclaim for my efforts from organizations like Harvard University, the Dutch Police, mm, SAP Philips, and many more. Um, so that's a little about me. Let's now move on to today's agenda. So today's agenda will be in these three parts. The first part will be I'll discuss a puzzle, and this is a normal algorithmic puzzle, which is really interesting. The second, I'll discuss a problem on arrays that was asked by Facebook in the past, and we'll go over through the solution. And the third thing will be that I'll give you some general interview tips and tricks that will help you in your interview process. So let's start with the puzzle. Um, and before that, I hope that you all have a basic understanding of what arrays are or what vectors are. If not, then also it's fine. I'll go over them. And it's not really required for you to know everything like in depth technically before this talk. Even if you don't know it, it's fine. I'll explain it. If you have any doubts, you can put them in the chat, or one of the presenters will unmute you when you raise your hand. Yeah. So basically, arrays, if you don't know what arrays is basically an array is basically a collection of items, and not just any collection. It's a homogeneous collection of items. So you can't have like an array which has both int and both like char, everything in one single block. You'll either have an int array or a char array. So every block will have the same kind of data, right? And so it's homogeneous, and it's stored in a contiguous memory location. So what I mean by that is, let's say this is a block, this is an array block, and this is stored in memory. This is the head of the block, and this is the base address. Basically, it's called the base address of the array. And if you know this address, then you can calculate the address of every single element in the array by adding an offset, right? So if, let's say, this is 200, you can get the address of this. So let's say it's an int, and int has 4 bytes, is 204, 208, and so on, in a similar fashion, right? So this was just a simple way of me explaining how it works. And a vector is nothing but a dynamic array. So if a normal array, you can't add or remove elements, but in a vector, you can do that, and it's dynamic, just as the word means. And this is similar to a list data structure in Python. If anyone's familiar with Python, a vector is similar to a list. So now that we have the basics out of the way, let's go on and discuss our puzzle that we're going to discuss today. So this is a really interesting puzzle that I came across recently, and I thought that this would be the perfect thing to discuss today. And the main goal is to think of it like a puzzle. It's not, don't think of it like a coding problem, but think of it as a normal puzzle, like you would solve it from a book, and then try to think about the solution. So, and I hope that you can be inquisitive and think about it properly. And if you have any doubts, just again, you can ask them. So the puzzle is fairly simple. It's called minimum commands. And the problem is that you're a gatekeeper at an IPL match, and um, everyone has arrived. Your job is to let the people in, but the catch here is that everybody is wearing caps, and you can allow them to enter only if they're wearing their caps in a particular direction. So what I mean by this particular direction is basically an orientation, right? So we all have worn caps, and we know that, like, let's say a cap looks like this. This is the shade part of the cap, right? So in the normal fashion, right? So if let's call that a forward way, like the normal way you wear a cap, let's call it the forward direction, and someone might wear it backwards, right? So in this way, and let's call it as backward. So these are the two definitions that we have. So the thing is that everyone is wearing caps. Every person who wants to attend the game is wearing caps, but all of them are wearing their caps uh, in one of these two orientations. So some of them will be forwards and some of them will be backwards. So let's say we have this array, right? F F P P P F F P F F, right? We have this array of people, and basically what this means is that we have indices. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 10 people here, and the thing is that everyone knows their index. So if I say that, okay, person one, flip your cap, what will this mean? That this person is going to change their cap and flip it to backwards. Okay. Now your goal is to, as I said, you can allow everybody to enter when they have their caps in the same direction. So what we want is that either all of them should be backwards or all of them should be forwards, right? And how you can do that? So how you can do that is you can call out commands, and the commands will be like, like person zero, flip your cap, a person one, flip your cap. And so these two F's will become B's, something like that. And then when all of them will become B's, you can let them enter. So to save some time, you can, rather than calling out commands like, for single persons, like calling out commands for 0 and 1 separately, what you can do is you can call out commands in intervals. So you can say that person 0 through 1 flip, something like that. And this is inclusive. So if you call out this command, what this will mean is that these two people will flip their cap to backwards, right? And this is one command. So it saves you time and your voice. And like every other algorithmic question, your job is to minimize the number of such commands. So my question to you now is, how can you do this? And the fact is that you don't have to be right in your first attempt, but just whatever comes to your mind or whatever you feel like should be the approach to this. Just put put it in the chat, or you can speak if you want to. If you have any doubts about the question as well, then also you're welcome. What we basically want is to call out commands, uh, the minimum set of commands, to make sure that every person is wearing their caps in the same orientation, right? So how can we do that?
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Sir, the simple thing is we have 0 and 1 with forward, and we have
Hmm.
5 and 6 with forward orientation, and 8 and 9. So we can use
Yeah.
three commands to turn all of them backwards, and we'll get the answer. So my doubt is we can
Mhm.
do this process in less than three commands, or we need at least three commands.
No, you can do it in less than three commands, right? So if you, as you said, that's one solution. But as I said, the goal is to minimize the set of commands. So in this case, if you notice, if you said 0 and 0, 1, 5, 6, and 8, 9, right? So
Yes.
if you make the contrary commands, like that is 2, 4, and 7, these are just two commands, right?
Oh,
So
oh,
this is
I
the
see.
answer, right? And this
Okay.
is, you'll have three commands in this set. So this is actually a big hint. So this was basically like a dry run. And thank you for attempting that, because now for everyone, I think they've gone through this dry run, and now you can better understand what can be the approach to solve this. Not
Thank you,
necessarily the
sir.
answer,
Thank
but
you.
the approach. Sure, sure.
Okay, sir.
Uh, am I audible?
Yeah.
We can count the using a counter. We can count the
Mhm.
number of F and B and then compare. And which one if the B is small, we can flip the B's, and if the F
Mhm.
is small, then we can flip the F's using a loop.
Yeah, yeah. So basically what you're saying is, so what do you mean? Like count the Fs as in, so you mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 Fs and 4 Bs like this?
Right, right.
Yeah. So
Using
how
a
will you?
counter, like
Yeah, yeah.
if we
Got your
use a
point.
loop, so
Yeah,
we can use a counter for F's and one counter for F and one counter for B, and then we can
yeah.
compare the values at the last.
Okay. So in your approach, how about, what if I have uh, these many Bs here, right? Um,
Right.
okay. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So in your approach, you're saying that count the number of Fs and count the number of Bs, right? So here, the number of Fs will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the number of Bs will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, correct?
Right, right,
And with
right,
your logic, we should flip the Fs, right? But
right.
again, if you notice, again, the answer is the Bs, because no matter how many Bs are in this interval, these will just take two commands, right? Because I
All
can
right.
say that person 2 to person 4 flip, and I can say person 7 to person 11 flip your caps. So these are just two commands, no matter how many
Mm,
B's are there in that interval. So you are really close to the solution. I'll give you that, but
right.
you're the approach is really close to the actual solution. But think about, you don't have to count the F's or the B's. You have to count something else.
There's one answer in the chat box by Prasanna Subramaniam. He
Uh-huh.
says, or she says, find the number of intervals with F and B, whichever is
Yeah,
the minimum, we can go with it.
perfect,
So I
perfect. Yeah.
think
Yeah. That's the actual solution.
that's,
So
yeah.
kudos to Prasanna, and it's a good observation. That that's the actual solution. That what you'll do is you'll iterate through the array, right? And it's a two-pass algorithm. So it's a basic two-pass algorithm. And what I mean by that is, in the first pass, you will calculate the intervals for F's and B's. Calculate the intervals, right? So just to make it simple, I'll just change it to my previous. Uh, let's do. Oops. Right. So we'll iterate over this, and we'll calculate the intervals like this. So we'll have 0, comma 1, and then for backward, the intervals will be 2, comma 4, 7, comma 8, 5,6 and 9,9. So in the case of only one element, you can add it like 9,9, the same element basically. So here now there'll be a check. The check will be to see the number. So here the number of commands required is 3, and here the number of commands required is 2, right? So we'll go with the the minimum number of commands. And the second pass will be to iterate through the elements of the minimum set. Basically, this backward set. So you'll iterate through this and call out the commands, right? So it's a 2-pass algorithm. It's a good solution, and it is, in this case, it is a naive solution. So even though it works perfectly fine, so let me just share the code with you as well if you want. Let me just go through the code real quick. So I used Python for
Sorry to
this.
interrupt, but there's a doubt in
Sure.
the chat box.
Yeah, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, yes, you can go ahead and ask your doubt.
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
In your algorithm, you traverse through all the elements anyway, right? To find the intervals of forward and backward. You had to
Yeah.
look at each person separately, right?
Yeah.
So why can't we just decide that we want everybody to be forward, and then while we are looking at each person, whoever is backward, we'll just tell them to flip it forwards, right? Instead of making intervals and then going to the second command, we can just finish it off in one command, just traverse through the entire array and decide one orientation and tell them to flip it forwards.
No, but how will you tell them to flip it forwards? Because the thing is that you can only call out commands in either like in intervals. What I like, as I said in the question as well, you can either ask individual people to flip their caps, or you can ask them in intervals to flip their caps, right? So why we're calculating the intervals is because to see that, okay, we have Fs and we have Bs, but in which case, which group should I ask so that my number of commands is minimum. That is the goal. So so what you're saying is that we have Fs and Bs and we ask everyone to flip, because they don't know if they don't know that they're wearing it in which direction. You can just say flip. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Okay,
the definition can be different for everybody, right? So for example, I wear my cap like this, so for me this is normal, this is forward, but for someone he might be wearing it like this but in the backward direction, and he doesn't know the distinction between forward and backward. So it is my decision to say that, okay, flip your cap, but he doesn't know it. So I can just say flip and he'll alternate. That's the thing.
okay.
Cool. So I'll just go through the code real quick. I wrote it in Python because I thought that even if you don't know Python, you can still understand, because it kind of it's easy to understand. So what I'm doing here is basically we have this input array, a character array of Fs and Bs, and here what I'm doing, just as the algorithm said, I'm iterating through this, making intervals, and in this case the interval is a tuple. So if you don't know what a tuple in Python is, it's totally fine, but just for clarity I can explain that we're storing it in the form of like this. So if we have from 0 to 1 we have F, so we'll store it like this, 0 to 1 F, and then the next object will be 2 to 5, let's say B. So a tuple gives you the power to do that. That's why I'm using a tuple here. And so yeah, so at the end we'll just see which counter is less based on the number of commands, and then we'll flip it, right? But now let's get to the more interesting part. The more interesting part is that this is not the optimal solution. So even though this solution is correct and you'll get your answer, but there is a way in which you can do it in one pass. So can anyone, and there's actually a good observation involved in this. So if you can make that observation and realize something, then you can come up with the answer. It's okay if you can't come up with it, but if you can, then I'll encourage you to think about it. I think I can just go ahead with the optimal solution now. So the thing to observe here, okay, we have something in the chat. Converting
Yeah.
all coming intervals to the first interval's orientation. Okay, but why do you want to do that? If the cap orientation matches the one before, stay. Else, well, you can group everything. I don't get your answer. Can you just like unmute yourself, Prasanna? Converting all the upcoming intervals to the first interval orientation. Okay, so what you mean is basically I flip this to F and I flip this to F.
Hello.
Yeah.
Suppose we can see 0 and 1 is F. So then
Yeah.
second interval is from 2 to 4. We can flip all the B's to F.
Okay.
If it is still same as F, we can leave it. Then if we, again we see B, we can flip all the B's.
Yeah.
Finally still F, then left with the same.
Yep. So what you're saying is that we'll iterate over this. We'll see that, okay, so we'll store this, the first interval. We'll see that, okay, it is F. So we'll flip 2 to 4 to Fs. So we'll call the command like, okay, 2 to 4 flip, and then 7 to 8 flip. That is actually correct. And that's a good observation. Because and why this works, I'll just explain why this works. Because in any case, right, you just have to see the second interval, and the second interval will be the answer. Because if you have, let's say, 4 objects, you can just a match thing, but you can place 3 objects in the middle of it, right? And in this case, let's say we have some Fs randomly spread out, and we have some Bs in the middle of them, right? So in this case, you can see that there are 2 commands and there are 3 commands required for Fs. And even if we have Bs here as well, and let's say we have 100 Bs here, doesn't matter because it's still one command. And in this case also, we'll have 3 commands for Bs and 3 commands for Fs. So you can never go wrong if you always go ahead with the second interval. Basically, you flip the second interval. That'll take you one pass. And this will significantly improve your the length of your code. So I have this coded as well here. So if I run this, this is literally the code in Python. This is like 6 or 7 lines, I guess. If you run this, you can see that, okay, in this case, we have 0, 1, 2 to 4 flip, and we have 6 to 8 flip, and we have 11 flip, right? So the answer is same, but it is optimal. So I'm really happy that you guys actually observed this, because it's really important to build this kind of logical approach to solving problems, and observing these things is really important. So kudos to you guys. And now I'll move on to the second part of this talk, which is problem solving. So for that, I was recently, I'm not a lead code user, I'll be honest, but yesterday I tried a little of lead code for array problems, and I found out that this particular problem was asked in Facebook recently. So I thought that I'll go over it, and it's a medium problem. The goal here is not to um, arrive at the correct solution as soon as possible, but I'm just trying to promote that uh, method of how you should approach a problem and how you can arrive at the solution in the proper method, right? So the question here is that you have an array as an input, and you have elements in that array, obviously, and you have to find triplets such that the sum of the triplet is equal to 0, right? And notice that the set must not contain duplicate triplets. So fairly simple. Let's see an example. We have -1, 0, 1, 2, -1, -4. And the answer is -1, -1, and 2, because they sum up to 0, correct? And then -1, 0, and 1. They sum up to 0, correct? Okay. So for this question, what can be a basic naive approach to solve this? The first thing that comes to your mind when you see this problem, if anyone wants to take this. Yeah. So here's the question. You have this input and you want to have 3 elements from this input array. Naive approach, 3 for loops. Yeah, exactly. Correct. So we want 3 elements such that they sum up to 0. And as Prasanna said, the brute force or the naive solution is you have 3 for loops, I 0 to n minus 2, j equals I plus 1 to n minus 1, and k will be from j plus 1 to n, right? And this is just pseudocode. So what will be the complexity for this? So since these are like 3 nested for loops, um, you can type it in the chat. It's fairly simple, but I really want someone to uh, give the complexity in the chat. So what you can do, I'll just explain it in the meantime. Yeah, it's n cube, correct. So it's order of n cube, which is pretty bad, honestly. And how it will work is basically we'll have this array 0, -1, 0, 1, 2, -1, -4. We have this array, and then we'll have 3 for loops. So we have I, j, and k. So for when we keep I and j fixed, so we'll add this -1 plus 0, which is -1, right? And now in this part, the remaining part, we have to find 1 so that these two add up to become 0, right? So we'll iterate over this remaining part, and then we'll increment j and do the same thing, and so on and so forth. So these are 3 nested for loops. It'll take order of n cube time. Now we can improve this, and the way that we can improve this is we can so actually online, if you look for this problem, you'll directly get to the optimal solution, but that's not how you should approach a problem or how you should solve a problem, because that's not the main goal, right? So I'll give you a second solution for this, which is slightly better than n cube, and for that, let's call it improved solution. And for that, what you can do is you can sort the array, right? So if you look closely, you have this array, right? And now if you sort it, you'll have -4, -1, -1, 0, 1, 2. This is the sorted array. And then in this, you can do the same thing. The same 3 loops that you used here, you can use it here. You can use it here as well. But now the complexity will be better. Can anyone explain why will it be better in this case, even though we're using the same approach? We're using 3 for loops. I j plus 1 to n minus 1, and k will be from j plus 1 to n, right? So first of all, why will the complexity be better in this case? What is different? And what will be the new complexity? If sum is greater than 0, we can break. Yeah, that's okay. But I'm asking that why? Okay, that's your answer to this, that the complexity will be better. My question is, why will the complexity be better in this case, even though we're using basically the same approach of using 3 loops? Just think about it. Think about what is different now. Because in the previous approach, we were just basically using 3 loops. But in this approach, we have done something else. We have added something to that approach. And now that is the reason that we have a better complexity now. So again, what is the complexity and why is it better? I'll give you a minute to think about it, and then I'll explain why is it better now. And it's a really core concept. Because if now sum is greater than 0, we don't need to check elements ahead of it. As it is sorted. Yeah. So basically, we can break the loop when the entry is 0. Yeah. So basically, the thing is that since we have a sorted array, just plainly in terms of complexity, I'm not going into the code right now, and like you guys went into the code part, that's good. But if I explain it just in terms of complexity, In the previous case, every for loop was taking order of n time, right? But now in this case, if you notice clearly, this will take order of n, this will take order of n, but this loop, the k loop, it will not take order of n time. It will take order of log n time. And why is that? Because as you said, it's a sorted array, right? And since it's a sorted array, now you can use binary search to search through the rest of the array to find the negative sum. Get it? So this is a core concept. Like whenever you hear the term sorted array, the first thing that should strike your mind is binary search, right? Because that'll really help your chances in most of the solutions. And binary search, if you don't know what binary search is, I'll just quickly explain it. That if you have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these elements, and you want to search for 2, right? So rather than iterating through the entire array, which will take O(n) time, what you can do is you can just check the middle element, and you can see that, okay, 2, you can compare 2 with this middle element. You'll see that, okay, 2 is less than 3. That since this is sorted, you're sure that 2 will exist on the left side of this. So now you can check this part, this half, right? So it decreases your problem by half on each stage, right? And that's why the complexity is log n, which improves your solution, right? So this was O(n) cube, and here we have, so sorting will take order of n log n, depending on which library you use, but the best case will be n log n if you use like a good algorithm like merge sort. Then if you calculate the overall complexity, it will be n log n plus n square log n because of these 3 loops. So n square log n because there are 3 nested loops, and this will be order of n square log n because n square log n is the dominant term here. Now n square log n is still better than n cube, but it is still not the most optimal solution. So let's look at the final solution, which is the most optimal solution. Again, I'll give you guys a minute to think about it. So that's as to what can be the optimal solution. And I'll give you a hint as well. So here as well, you'll sort it first. You can sort the array. And what you'll have is -4, -1, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, -4, -1, -1, 0, 1, 2. You'll get this after sorting. And now what you have to do? That's the question. So basically what we're doing till now, the objective is same, but we're trying to improve the complexity. We can take 2 pointers. Yeah, exactly. That's correct. So if you use the 2-pointer approach, you can significantly improve your complexity. One from start and one from ending. Yeah, exactly. So what Pranvi means is that you can keep a pointer here. So the first loop that we had here, right? The first loop, the I loop, to fix the first element, you'll have that in the same way. So for I equals 0 to n minus 2, it'll stay the same. But then for this part, you can use a 2-pointer approach. And what a 2-pointer approach is that, let's say you have -1. Let's use the same example. Now you have -4 as I, right? So now you need to find 2 elements in this part, this circled part, right? You need to find 2 elements in this part such that they add up to +4, basically 4, right? So that -4 and 4 add up to 0, right? That is our main goal, that we want 3 elements that add up to 0. So we have -4, so the other 2 should add up to 4, right? So what it means is that you have A of I, right? And you want 2 elements from this set such that they add up to minus of A of I, right? So how a 2-pointer approach works is that your target sum in this case is minus of A of I, which is 4. Now you can maintain two pointers, j and k, one at the start, one at the end. And since this is sorted, you can add up the sum and you can store the current sum. So the current sum here is -1 plus 2, which is 1. Now 1 is less than 4. So that means that you have to increase the sum. And if you move this pointer, then this will decrease the sum, right? So what you can do is you can increase the sum by increasing the j pointer. So if you increase this, you'll get to -1 again. The sum is same. Then you increase this and so on, right? So this will take O(n) time. This is a linear time algorithm. So now the complexity will be, this will be order of n, and then the two-pointer approach. The two-pointer approach. This will be order of n again. So now the nested loop will cost you only order of n square time. So now the total complexity will be n log n for the sorting and n square for this. And since n square is a dominant term, the overall complexity will be order of n square, right? And I've already coded this up. If you have any doubts regarding this two-pointer approach, I can explain it again. Do you want me to explain anything again? Then I can do that. Wait a second. So are there any doubts in the two-pointer approach or anything else that you want me to repeat?
Guys, if you have any doubts, you can raise your hands or drop the doubt in the chat box. Both work.
Yeah, so now I'll just show you the code. So this is C++. And basically, these are the questions that you should ask. And now I'll get to that part of the talk. So I'll just first quickly run this and show you that it works. Hopefully it does. So this is the optimal solution. And yeah, it works. And basically the algorithm is same, which I discussed. But let's now move on to the third part of the talk, which was general tips and tricks for your interviews. And the first thing in that is I want you guys to always go into the interview room to not think about it like uh, a selection process. Don't think about it like someone is trying to not select you, because they are trying to select you. They're just trying to work with you. The interviewer, just think of it as your friend and he'll guide you through the process if you think it like that, right? And how you approach a problem, if you for example, if this question was given to you in your interview, the thing is not that you know the optimal solution, कि हमने वो वाली talk attend की थी या हमने YouTube video देखा था, we know the solution, you will just straight away start coding. It doesn't work like that. Even if you code it perfectly in the most optimal way, they're not going to select you, and that is because they don't want a person who can memorize the logic, but they want a person who can solve problems, right? And how they see that a person has good problem solving skills is when the person thinks out loud, right? So just in these two questions that I discussed today, my aim was to promote a culture that you can, build that logical mindset, that you approach a problem in the most basic way possible, that you think of it like, okay, this is the first thing that comes to my mind. And even before that, you have to ask the right questions. So for example, in this question, you have to ask that, okay, does this array have negative integers as well, or are they only positive? For example, this can be a potential question. Second clarifying question can be that, okay, what if the number in the input array, the number of elements in the input array is less than 3, right? And we have to find triplets. So what should I return? Should I return null? Should I return an empty array? What should I return, right? So these are some of the questions that this platform won't encourage you to ask, but you should develop that quality to ask these clarifying questions to the interviewer before you start coding. Because then it shows that, okay, you're serious about this and you clear out everything before approaching the problem. Then you come up with the brute force solution, and then they ask you to improve, and then you keep on improving the solution until you both arrive at the most optimal solution, and then you start coding. So that is how a normal good interview process goes like. Right. And yeah, so that was it from my side, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I would just try to be on time. Um, so I'm, yeah.
So everyone, you can ask your questions now. Please, like if you want to ask anything, raise your hand and I'll allow you to talk or maybe drop it in the chat box.
Yeah. So you can ask questions about like your career trajectory or anything technical, something, anything you want. Because I remember I had a lot of questions when I was in your place. So yeah.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sir, I don't have a question about this particular problem. I just want to ask where can we practice these kind of things, and how can we build that mindset to think about it? So, is there
Yeah.
do we practice on lead code, and where do we practice? I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And basically, you have really good platforms available nowadays. You have Lead Code, you have HackerRank. Personally, as I said, I didn't use Lead Code, but it's not that it was bad or anything. Just choose a platform and stick with it. You can also choose multiple platforms, but to build that mindset, stop looking at solutions. I can't signify the importance of this enough, that when you see a problem, you don't search it on YouTube. Just think about it. Stare at it for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then try to build your approach towards it using a brute force approach, and then try to optimize it, right? And you can
Sir,
use LeetCode is a good platform. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
sir, I am not familiar with Python. I'm good in C++ and Java. So, in
Mhm.
these platforms, do we also code in Java, or we only have to learn Python to go ahead?
No. So in this example, as you saw, I use C++, because of, I mean, I'm comfortable with C++. But yeah, so you can code in any language. Most of these platforms support all of them. For example, in lead code as well, you can see, right? C++, Java, Python, C
Oh,
Sharp, all so many languages are accepted. So again,
yeah.
the second important thing is don't run after a language. Just take a language which you feel you're comfortable with and focus more on logic building, because language is like a tool, right? And your logic is like your feeling. So if you know what to feel, right, and your language, you can say it in any language, then get it.
So,
So the important part is,
I just need to
yeah.
start solving problems in Java, and then I'll master all that in some time, I guess. In
Yeah, sure. So if you like Java, then you can start solving these problems in Java, and that'll improve your Java skill as well, and that'll help you in like development jobs.
Okay, sir. Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Because see, anyway, this job is very technically demanding. So no matter which language you're good in, it might be that you get a job where they require a Python developer, right? And you don't know Python at all, but you'll have to learn it on the job, and that happens all the time. So it's pretty normal. That's why they don't ask you for a specific language in most cases, unless you're going for an Android developer role where they require Kotlin or Java, right? So yeah.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
You can also ask any other questions regarding, cybersecurity or any other fields within CS which you want to pursue. I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, hello, am I audible to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, so actually I'm interested in cloud computing, but initially like I just have idea about it, but I don't know how to start for a good career scope in it. So in third year I'm right now, and my third year has started right now. So what should I do for that?
Yeah. So that's a good question. So for that, you have, I think, so DSC offers good opportunities in cloud, I guess. So you have these quick labs by GCP. if I'm not wrong, right? So they have this 30-day challenge where you can solve these quick labs for free. And you, if you're from Manipal, you have this, I think you have this free Coursera subscription as well. So what you can do is you can choose a certification. Let's say, for example, you can, AWS is an industry standard, but since it's a Google event, I won't promote that much. But yeah, you can go for GCP as well. But what I'll suggest definitely is try to get an internship in cloud after your third year, the summer after your third year, right? Because now you have time. When I was at your stage, I wasn't really sure about it, that what I wanted to do. I wanted to do cybersecurity, but I wasn't really sure about it, so I didn't do any internship after my third year. But and I traveled. But if since you are sure about cloud, then you should work hard right now, and you can try to get an internship in cloud after your third year. And the way you do that is by doing solving those labs on quick labs. Microsoft has a free cloud academy. You can check that out. I think it's called Microsoft Cloud Society, where they teach Azure and other things related to Azure. And obviously you have AWS. So you can choose one part for now and get a certification in that direction, right? So these every one of these has certificate, like I think 5 or 10 certifications. So you start with on a 1, 2, 3, and you get like as soon as you're getting these certifications, you're improving your skill in these technologies. Because as far as I know, and my friends working in these areas, certifications are really important for cloud based roles, right? So if you want to be a AWS developer, right, if you want to work in AWS, it'll really help you if you have a solutions architect certification, something like that. So try for that. That'll be my solution. That'll be my suggestion for you.
Thank you so much, sir. So one more thing, like, is it necessary to stick only one kind of cloud while we are working and getting experience over it and advancing in it?
Not exactly, but for now, I mean, in your stage where you are right now, you're in college. So I'll suggest that you focus on one thing really well, because think of it mm, like a T-shape approach. It's called a T, right? So an up down T, and what it means is that you have these skills. These are your skills, right? So you're good in cloud, you're good in so many things, right? But how you stand out is by being specialized, and this is your specialization spike. So I can say that, okay, Shweta is a specialized person in AWS. So it'll help you in getting those jobs, whereas compared to someone who is dangling in 2 or 3 technologies, right? So you'll be focused in AWS or focused in GCP for now. So for example, if you get an internship based on this one thing, because let's say you have 6 months right now for your till your summer internship, you can specifically focus on one technology, ace it, and get an internship in that. And after that, then you can design your career path, because based on your next job, you'll learn as you go. But this will provide the basic foundation for that. So now I think you should focus on one thing only currently.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Sure.
much.
In an interview for SD, what skills are needed apart from coding? Yeah, exactly. That's a really good question, and that's actually ignored by a lot of people. Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thank you, Ronak. The important things that should be that are needed in an interview for a software developer are basically behavioral questions, and how you interact with people. It's really important, because even though you're really good in your coding and your technical stuff, if you can't crack the HR interview, you're not going to get in. And the way to crack the HR interview is like, my approach was doing everything that I could in college, right? So I was an active member of the music club. I developed websites for Oneros and Abhivarta. So these experiences, I was the general secretary for Randomize. So these experiences helped me interact with other people, improve my personality, and also like I had stories, right? So when I entered the HR interview, they asked me these questions that, okay, what was your failure? How did you, overcome that failure, and things like that. And these questions, I had the answers to these questions. If you just keep on, doing lead code all day, it'll get you through the last interview. But in your HR interview, if you don't have anything to talk about, they'll think that, okay, this person is not interesting, and we have a similar person with these experiences, so we'll take him, right? So I'll just suggest that do everything that you can in college, enjoy, have fun, and while you're doing that, you'll create these stories which will help you in the HR interview. Apart from that, yeah, I think that's it mostly. Because in a coding interview, they'll just see your technical skills and your personal skills. Because see, they're taking someone who they're gonna work with properly, probably, right? So if a person doesn't like you or the way you're talking, right? If you seem to be egoistic, then he's not gonna take you because you'll not be easier to work with. That's what they're thinking about. So yeah, those are some skills that you should work on. Some personal skills, basically. Is it possible to get an internship in first year of college? If yes, what would be the skills if I need to have to get on? Yeah, I think it's quite possible. I have friends who've done it. Um, if you want, what would the skills? Yeah, so the skills will be simple. It might be a little tough. I'll be honest. But again, if you can do these coding problems and you can work on your craft, it'll be easy for you to get an internship. It's not unheard of. People do get internships after the first year, but I'll suggest that if you want an internship, just currently you can focus on what area do you want an internship in, right? So for example, like currently, if you don't have any experience, I'm guessing if you're a first year, then you can think about, okay, so you have mobile development, you have web development, you have things like that, you have cloud, data analysis. So what interests you? And if you find something, work in that field, get those online courses and things like that, and then try for an internship and you can get it. Is there anything in specific that I can help you with, Rishik? Because that's the general advice. Just find something that interests you and yeah, just go for it. The skills will be, again, the skills depend on what you go for, right? So if you say that, okay, I've started mobile development, I've started Android, I've started iOS development, so you need to have Swift skills or Objective C skills. So you just specifically improve your Objective C or Swift and get an internship as an iOS developer, right? So the skills part will definitely depend on what you want to do in these situations where so we're not getting that kind of, how can I say, communicate. Yeah, that's actually a good question. And on the top of my head, I don't know the answer to this because luckily I wasn't placed in such a situation. But again, I know it's tough, but I have also started my job in this situation, so I can kind of answer this. And how you can do that in this. So what you can do is you can get involved in these clubs. You can get involved in, let's say you have this amazing club, DSC, right? So get involved in DSC and interact with the seniors. Ask them questions that, okay, how do you do this? How do you do this? And and that way you can maybe in your next year or the year after that you can come in the leadership of the club, right? So that will improve your these skills, improve your confidence, and like whatever you're interested in, be if you have any other hobbies, pursue them. Because trust me, I've performed, like, I think multiple times throughout my college life, and there have been one or two performances where I've actually performed with an untuned guitar in front of like 600 people or something. But that experience, on that day I felt bad, but then after that I'm not scared of anything, right? So, and this is a temporary situation, right? So currently what you can do is interact with people as much as you want. You can text them, and you can video call with them, but just maintain that relationship and network so that next year when everything gets back to normal, then you can uh, contribute more and get involved in a better way. I hope that answers your question. uh, Hi Akshita, I'm in my third year with 3 months and new to coding. 3 months. Yeah. But why 3 months? Because are you talking about the summer internship? Because like for your summer internship, you still have, I think, 7 to 8 months, right? Um, yeah. So yeah, so you have like 7 to 8 months. And yeah, it's actually very much possible to get an internship after your third year, in these 7 to 8 months, even though you're new to coding. Because I cracked my Times Internet interview in, I think, 4 months. Yeah, 4 months, and I wasn't really a good coder at all. I wasn't really involved in coding at that time, but just 4 months before my interview, I started coding using C++, and I got in. So yeah, you can do that. Just take a platform, let's say LeetCode, and solve the problem starting from arrays to, linked lists, the common ones, especially dynamic programming and graphs, trees, these concepts, and you can surely get in. It's totally possible. Don't worry about it. Just maintain your priorities, right? So your college GPA matters. I'm not going to say that it doesn't based on your future career aspirations. But then again, don't be that person who scores a 10 but doesn't know anything, right? Lead code or hacker rank, I've used both, but only for like a really short amount of time, so I can't really choose. Both of them are really good, but personally, if I have to choose, I'll choose lead code because of the good classification of problems, and if you have the premium subscription, it's better as well, I think. Do you companies look at LinkedIn profile if you're trying to get an off-campus job? LinkedIn profile, yeah. So I think they have an upcoming session on LinkedIn profiles in DSC, so I won't take their part. But yeah, so I can quickly just say that for that, what you can do is they sometimes might look at your LinkedIn profile, but even if they don't look at your LinkedIn profile, it's really important to build your LinkedIn profile because people are constantly active on LinkedIn, and um, yeah, recruiters can actually get in touch with you over LinkedIn even if you don't apply to any position. So you can what you can do is keep it updated, keep your give some points in every field like education, Manipal University, give some points of what you've done and things like that. And yeah, give your skills, feature some items on top. And on LinkedIn, what you can do is you can see that so many people are doing so many things, right? So initially it'll depress you, not gonna lie, because I was also depressed, like not depressed, but I was really sad that, okay, these many people are doing so many things. But if you look at it in a positive way, then it motivates you to do something yourself as well, right? So then you can do that. Contributing in open source does help in improving your technical skills, and yeah. So don't do anything just to show it on your CV or resume, because if you do this, let's say you're contributing in open source, and they ask you that, okay, what did you do? You have to have an answer for that. It's not just that you have a certificate and you don't know anything, right? We have some, yeah, that's true. But starting commitment to any depth knowledge, language CV. Yeah, so you can Vanshaj, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, what you can do is you can start off with one platform. Like, so as I said, lead code, right? If you don't know these concepts, firstly, I'll suggest that you should be aware of data structures, right? Especially the fundamental data structures, arrays, linked lists, the list, right, what I'm talking about. So just be comfortable with them in your language, in whichever language you're comfortable with. Practice those questions first and then move on. So it's okay if you don't know anything right now. Start off with arrays, right? So let's say you pick a topic, arrays. You go on Geeks for Geeks, you search you read up, okay, what are arrays in your language, how to implement an array, how to initialize an array, things like that. And then you solve the problems related to arrays on, let's say, lead code or HackerRank. So that way, what we'll do is you'll keep on improving your data structure knowledge as well as your coding ability in that data structure, right? And that way you can complete all the topics, and you'll in turn have a better um, coding skill. Course completion certificates, I'll be honest, not as much as you think, but yeah, they do help if you have anything to show for it. So, for example, if it's a project based course, and you make a project out of that course, so you can list that project in your resume, and that counts more than your certificate, no matter from which university or which organization it is from, on Coursera, for example. It just shows that, okay, this person has taken his time to learn about this. But if you really want to learn about something, in my experience and from people who I've worked with and from my friends in college, the better way to learn about things is to go on YouTube, right? So simply, if you want to learn, let's say, React, right, and you might not get enough React courses on Coursera, or they might not be that good. They'll be mostly theoretical. So what you can do is you can go on YouTube, you can just search, let's say, create a to-do app in React. You'll get multiple videos for that. And you can just follow those videos and make that React app. And then you learn more, right? Just Google stuff, build something. That is more impressive than certifications, in my opinion. Because what happens is, if you improve your coding ability, you have this good data structures knowledge, you get a good job. But then when you enter that job, you find that, okay, we're not using trees anymore, we're not using graphs, and what you're actually using is something that you don't know, which is basically vanilla software development, right? So for that, you can build projects, and that will help you more than these just courses. Courses are fine, but as long as they're done with the intention of learning something and not with the intention of having on your resume, because that doesn't count. Your learning counts. Yeah. Um, um, so I also wanted to say that if you have any other questions, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My handle, I'll just put it in the chat. Um, so you can search me up and you can follow me there, or you can message me. I'll be happy to answer your questions there. One more question. Does tech question this higher graphics design for internships as well? I'm not sure about this, honestly, so I can't comment. But I'm pretty sure that, yeah, they should do it. Yeah, I think they have like roles for UI UX intern, if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, they have roles for that. I'm just giving my profile. Sure, you're welcome. Are there any other questions that you guys want me to answer, or anything in general about college life, or anything about me, my journey? This is the time to ask.
Yeah, he has asked a question.
Mac or Windows? Yeah. So you've asked the wrong person. I'm pretty biased towards using a Macintosh, so I'll say Mac. And my reason for that is that I feel that Mac is more developer friendly. Just like people prefer Linux, it's a personal preference. And now Windows has good support for Linux as well, using their PowerShell, I guess. But still, I prefer a Mac because I can still use my Unix commands, and it's basically Unix with a good hardware, something like that. It's secure. So I'll prefer a Mac, and it also depends if you're in the ecosystem. So I'm in the ecosystem since, like, I think 6 or 7 years now. So it doesn't make sense for me to switch to a Windows laptop right now, even though I work in Dell. So please don't tell my employers that. But yeah, I'll go with Mac. But it doesn't matter. You can still get a good job if you use a Windows, and you can still improve your skills for that. Is doing MCA worth for what? For getting a good tech job, I'm supposing. Yeah, I think it must be. I'm not really sure about that degree, but again, CS is one beautiful field where you don't need a degree specifically to ace in this field, right? What you need is an unbridled passion to improve your skill. What you need is a laptop, and no matter which laptop it is, just a decent enough laptop and a good internet connection is what you need. To be very honest, you can have a 6 point CGPA and still be working at one of the big tech companies. Obviously off campus interviews, because the college people won't let you sit in with a 6 pointer. But yeah, so that any even in an MCA, if you can be in the right environment of people who are driven, who work hard, you can. It's I think it will be worth it if you can use your time wisely. But the thing is that MCA is, I think it's a okay. I think it's a master's degree, right? So it depends, right? So if you've done a BCA and you're doing an MCA, then fine, I guess. But if you've done a BTech, then I don't think that you require an MCA for that. It's a really vague question. BCA plus MCA. Yeah, that's true.
Hey,
BCA
Bhaiya.
plus MCA. Yeah, sure. Hi.
Hi. So I have a question. So basically, I am confused between going for a master's or going for a job, right? After my BTech completes. So I just wanted to
Okay.
know how can I prepare for both, and if specifically if I want to go for masters, what does a good college look for in a potential candidate?
Okay. Which year are you in right now?
I'm in my second year right now.
Nice. So you still have 2 years until you graduate, and then the economy will be in a different state, things like that. But I have friends, I have family in the US, for example, and so I know how this entire thing works and what people ignore when they think about joining their masters. So I think I can help you on that. So what I mean is that if you can get a good admission, like in a really good college in CS, uh, in a let's say in US or Canada or Europe, wherever you want to go, yeah, you can do that right after college, and you can still be sure that you'll get a good opportunity. But yeah, like UC Berkeley or so, yeah. But but again, if you don't get a good college, you get a normal college, then I'll suggest, and even I think even if you get a top college, I'll still suggest that it's better to get a year of experience before going outside, because what happens is, and what people ignore is that if you have a year of experience in India, this is your country. Nobody can throw you out of your country, right? You can stay here and you can still work till whenever you want. But if you go to the US, for example, they have really stringent laws. For your employment, and after your MS you'll get 2 months to get a job, and if you get a job, fine. If you don't, then then you'll have to come back, right? So that is one thing. And to get a job in those 2 months, even in your internship, if you don't have any experience, it might be easier with the new president. But again, I'll say, if you have some experience, if you don't have full-time experience, and internships are not counted as full-time experience at most places, so let me be clear about that. Full-time experience, if you don't have it, then things will be really tough. So on the safe side, I'll suggest that, or unless you're a really good competitive coder and you're like a 5 star on Code Chef or something like that, then it'll be a breeze. So you don't have to worry about that. Otherwise, I think you can definitely, on the safer side, you can take a year of experience and then go for masters. But since you're in your second year, I'll just suggest that you can take your GRE right now, because it is valid for 5 years. But don't take your TOEFL right now. Take your TOEFL, I think, next year or next year. TOEFL or IELTS, whichever you go for, because it has a validity for only 2 years. So yeah, take your GRE. Try to get a good score if you can't, because focus on that right now. You're still studying right now. It'll be easier for you to study for the GRE and get a good score right now, rather than studying while you're working.
And
So that will be my advice.
what
What a
do
good college looks for. Yeah. So I'm sorry I missed that. So what you should do right now is, you have a good amount of time left with you in your college life. So what you can do is, you can try for research internships. These matter a lot for MS. I mean, it's not the only way to get into a good college, but if you have research publications or research internships, it helps, because it shows to the college that you will be a good graduate student because they want people to contribute in their research. And B, you get good letter of recommendations from places where you research at, right? So, for example, you get a research internship at an IIT or an NIT. So when you're applying, you'll get one LOR from Manipal and one LOR from that person who is a professor in IIT, and they know that IIT is a good university, right? So it gives you an edge over other people. So try for research internships. That is what I'd suggest, and make good projects. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for answering the question.
Yeah, sure. Why did you? Okay, so many questions. Kitne stars of questions are required at the end of the first year? Dude, I have, I think, 1 star on CodeChef. So I don't think I'm the right person to answer this. Because as long as you know your stuff, it doesn't really matter. Unless you really want to go into this field of, competitive coding, or you want to crack the ACM, ICPC, things like that. Why did you start researching in the field of cybersecurity? Because honestly, I felt that I was really interested in breaking things than making them. So for that adrenaline rush, I started doing ethical hacking, and yeah, it's been going good since then. Bhaiya, do you have any plans to get in future? Maybe. I'm thinking about it, but I'm not really sure as of yet. I might get one, but not currently, I think. Do colleges allow going for research internships in third year? Like, no, you shouldn't. Attendance, yeah. So I think if you're from Manipal, I'm guessing, yeah, there'll be a issue for attendance, I think, because you'll have to talk with every professor individually, and it'll be a big hassle if you want to go um, while your college is going is happening, right? So what you can do is you can try for winter internships or summer internships. So your winter break starts from December 15th. Or even right now, right? This is the best time for you guys because um, everything is online. You can just cold email professors which you want to work with in which field, right? And even if you're not trying to work with other professors, start with your own college professors, right? Um See, okay, that this person is teaching machine learning and I want to research in machine learning. You can ask them that, okay, so are there any research projects that are currently going on that I can contribute to? And you can work with him. So yeah, you can do it online right now. Attendance, I'm not sure about it that much, but yeah, you can do internships right now as well, while along with your college, because they're online, most of them. Yeah, I can help you that. How did you progress in cybersecurity domain? Yeah, so cybersecurity particularly is a domain which sometimes requires a good knowledge in some certain fields. How I progressed is I researched at the University of Florida at the cybersecurity lab. So that helped in improving my skills. But even before going to University of Florida, I did online courses on Coursera, which are not listed on my resume, but I still have that knowledge. And how you can do it is you can learn these tools like Burp Suite, Kali Linux, things like that, and start with web application testing. And I'm actually going to give a talk on this topic uh, in December, I guess. So if you're really interested in cybersecurity, you can follow me on LinkedIn and you can attend that talk for an entire, you know, I'll share everything, how I did it and how you can do it too.
Yeah, sure. So you guys can always contact him on LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll also provide you the link if you haven't got it from here already. We'll put it on the DSC MUJ group on WhatsApp. Okay. So I
awesome.
would firstly like to thank you for taking out your time and giving this amazing session. I think these guys have learned a lot today, and all of us enjoyed
Sure.
it.
Thank
So
you
that
so
was
much to the entire team of DSC MUJ for having me, and I'm really grateful to you guys. And I'm for this platform that I could help so many people at the same time. So thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed.
So, hey guys, I hope you are enjoying the session so far and learn something new through this interactive session delivered by none other than Prerit Pathak. And now it's time for a short quiz, which we have created for you all so that you can get a strong grip over the fundamentals taught in the session and apply the concepts to solve some basic questions. And again, scoring well is always appreciated, but try to focus more on learning and creating something productive from the knowledge gained in the session. And note that there will be a 15-second limit associated with each question. So keep a check on time while answering. And at the end of the quiz, we will be announcing the winner and give him or her a shout out. So have fun, guys. Let's quiz it. Now you all can start joining the quiz. It's live now. Just visit the website slido.com and you can enter the code. Yeah, the first question. Again, if you have listened to the session, it won't be a difficult one. Okay, let's have the view. Yeah, that's the correct one. Okay, moving ahead. Yep, time up. And yep, the solution is, I guess most of you guessed it correctly. That's great. Again, next question. Time up, guys. Okay, I can see a huge response over option 3. Let's have a view over the correct one. Yes, that's correct, because all of them had a 4th index, which is not a valid index for this array. That's only for 0, 1, 2, and 3. Next question. Oh, we have the leaderboard. Yash Arora. That's great, Yash. Week of Algos. Cool. And Pranvi. Cool. Keep working, guys. I hope there are many more questions for you to answer. Okay, most of you have answered true. Okay, let's have a view over the correct one. True. Yes, that's the correct answer. Time up. Okay. Sequentially, yes. Not sequentially, I guess that's not the correct one. Randomly, because you can access any element of the array. Just you have to make sure that the index is under the upper bound. Next question. Okay, most of you have answered D, and let's have a view over the answer. Yes, it's easier to store the elements of same data type. That's the correct one. Again, next question, the 9th one. Okay, yes, there is a wastage of memory. Yes, if you have allocated the space to an array and if you're not using the whole space, then you are wasting some memory. So that's the correct option. Option A. We have Week of Algos with us for the position of winner. A quite funny name. Cool. And Yash Arora and Prasanna. and Pranvi. Okay. Nice. So congratulations, Week of Algos, for for winning the quiz. I hope you enjoyed, guys, and stay tuned for more such quizzes and awesome session by the speakers brought to you by DSC MJ. Handing over to you, Abhishek.
Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you all for being such an amazing audience. We hope to see you on 24th, wherein we'll be having Raj Vikramaditya with us, who will be talking about DSA for interviews and getting started with competitive programming. Good night, everybody.